Welcome to A Mason's Work, the podcast where we review Masonic symbols and illustrate how they can be used to solve problems in everyday life. With your host, Brian Mattox, a proud member of the Craftsman Online Media Network.
So it's 2 a.m. You can't sleep. Your brain is running at super high speed against a whiff of a problem. You're up all night with anxiety about what might go wrong, about the next thing that could happen, about all of the crazy things that could be. This is a misapplication of the level. When we start planning correctly and start meaningfully identifying obstacles and risks to our plans and designs, we can use this concept, this anxiety, or this projection into the future in a productive way. When we don't have a concrete understanding of what's going on, it is a misapplication of that capacity. It is the sort of the level activating the gavel, right? It's like, hey, something's coming. Let's get on it and make sure that we're doing the best thing we can, the best version of ourselves, taking all of the rough edges off, except the parts of you that you are projecting into the future here don't exist. So it's like the gavel swinging in air. You are trying to be protective about a problem that doesn't exist. And every time you swing, you hit nothing, you swing again and you swing harder. And you try and find, how am I going to deal with this? How am I going to solve this problem? And the biggest challenge with this as a concept, apart from the fact that it's 2 a.m. and you're depriving yourself of meaningful rest, which is a junior warden's issue, you have this really strong desire to not mess up. And no way to connect that to what's actually fixable. And there's a real reason why this anxious rehearsal feels productive. It mimics the motion of regular problem solving. You're doing the stuff, right? As you go through the anxiety loop where you think about what could happen, you identify that maybe as a way that you could solve it. And then what's next? And then what's next? But there's nothing there. It feels somewhat useful. But again, we'll get into kind of ways we can look at this. In our ritual, we talk about the idea when we're conferring or giving passwords and things like that. How are we going to come to a knowledge of the password? One of the ways that we come to a knowledge of a password is lettering it. And lettering it is essentially the equivalent of giving something a name in small bites. So when we letter a problem, or when we talk about a problem that we have and give it a name, that is the micro solve for the misapplication of the level against a future problem. Letter it. What is the thing you're worried about? Follow that consequence upstream. Follow it downstream. Hey, I'm worried that this presentation I'm going to give tomorrow at work is going to fall flat. And I think that if I don't get this right, then I'm going to lose my job. And you begin to give those thoughts, which are for most people rough and ambiguous and circular, real names and consequences. You're lettering that problem down to, what is it that's actually my fear and concern? As you go through that process of lettering the problem, you then create something that the mind can actually work with. You start like, hey, let's look at by example. Has anyone else in my workplace flubbed a presentation before? And did they immediately get walked out of the building with a box of their stuff? If that didn't happen, then can my career tolerate a whiff? Okay, cool. So I'm not going to die. I'm not going to lose my job. Great. Start working on building up using your other aprons, using the other capacities you have at your disposal. The secretary's apron, what's true, what's false, what's feelings. The treasurer's apron, what's the ROI here? What does worrying buy me? What does the consequence of my behavior look like? Start bringing in these other perspectives then, once you've lettered the problem, to help you take some of the sting out of it. I'm not trying to trivialize anxiety. I've had it for all my whole life. So I know what it is. I know how it works. But as we talk about this and misapply these kind of things like the level to the future version of ourselves, we really run risk of sapping our present moment in sacrifice to a future that will never come. We'll talk more tomorrow.
The views represented in this podcast are those of the speaker alone and are not representative of any grand or subordinate lodge.
Hi, Brian here. I wanted to thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you have any suggestions or guidance for further episodes you'd like to see or hear, whatever the case may be, please don't hesitate to reach out to me at masonswork.com, and we will try and incorporate your suggestions into a future recording. Thanks.
Freemasonry teaches us that the true work is within, a lifelong journey of reflection, discipline, and discovery. At A Mason's Work, we help Masons bring out their best selves through meaningful self-inquiry and symbolic practice. From personal reflection to lodge engagement, we offer tools that turn symbols into action. Visit us at amasonswork.com. The work is within. The time is now.